Now little King posts this paperwork, right? And here's the thing I don't like about this paperwork. This is an actual case. For those of us that know, we know this is an actual case. Now let me read this paperwork.
Everything you've ever learned about the resurrection leaves out crucial parts. For almost 2,000 years, people around the world have been told that the tale wraps up at the empty tomb. The stone gets pushed aside. Then quiet. End of story. But that conclusion wasn't accepted everywhere. Far away from Rome, in the rock-hewn monasteries of Ethiopia, monks safeguarded a separate account, an old Bible containing 81 books instead of 66, with sections the West never saw, teachings never shared from pulpits. Within those overlooked passages lies a resurrection account that doesn't merely recount what occurred after Jesus came back. It reveals what transformed. Not only death, not only the afterlife, but the essence of God, the role of the soul, and people's immediate connection to reality. These passages were kept safe outside of assemblies, revisions, and oversight, concealed up to this point. And before we uncover what this version truly states, press like and subscribe, since this is the sort of insight certain folks prefer you not to learn. 81 books that overhaul the narrative. A lot of folks assume the Bible is set in stone, complete, beyond alteration. But the Ethiopian Orthodox Church disagreed from the start. As the Western Bible halted at 66 books, Ethiopia held on to 81. That's 15 additional compared to Protestants, 8 beyond Catholics. And these aren't arbitrary extras. They're among the earliest Christian writings in use, honored by initial followers well before they got silently excluded in the West. Books such as Enoch, Jubilees, and Maccabees. For ages, Western experts dismissed them as legends. Then research intervened. Carbon dating of the Garima Gospels found in an Ethiopian monastery confirmed they date from 330 to 650 AD, establishing them as the oldest illustrated Christian manuscripts anywhere. While Europe descended into turmoil, Ethiopian monks were maintaining Christianity's foundational blueprint. And the content in these books is dynamite. The Book of Enoch doesn't simply state that humans erred prior to the flood. It details the reason. It portrays a universal rupture. 200 watcher angels coming down to earth, marrying human women and producing mixed offspring known as the Nephilim. Giants that consumed the planet. It identifies figures like Samyaza, Azazel, Barakiel. It claims they imparted prohibited wisdom, crafting weapons, allure techniques, star reading. This wasn't mere rebellion, it was unsanctioned insight. That's why the Roman Church turned it away. The realm Enoch depicts is disordered, perilous, and unmanageable. So it got excised. Ethiopia retained it, and Enoch is merely the prelude. The true jolt is a resurrection document named Mashafa Kedan, the Book of the Covenant. In Western custom, Jesus shows up shortly after reviving. In Ethiopian custom, he remains for 40 days, and he imparts not homilies, directives. He outlines concealed frameworks of existence, understanding that sidesteps religious structures. He discusses the natural world, vibrations, entities, and a final era clash that's not waged with forces, but with consciousness. It's esoteric, pressing, strengthening. And Ethiopian monks hold a bold view that the 81 books represent the narrow path, whereas the 66-book Bible is the broad route made easier for the crowds. If they're correct, then the Bible that most of the globe studies isn't whole. It's redacted. And now with these writings being converted and distributed, the barrier is lifted. These aren't tame tales any longer. They're unfiltered documents. And if giants and fallen angels seem implausible, hold on until you discover what Jesus really conveyed during those 40 concealed days. Unraveling the 40-day confidential dispatch. In the typical Gospel of Luke, the interval from resurrection to ascension is hazy. But in the Ethiopian Mashafa Kedan, it's the central occurrence. This is when the safeguards are removed. Per these writings, the revived Christ assembles his followers not only to reassure them, but to ready them for a metaphysical battle. He mentions the architect of shadows, an idea that will astonish you. He clarifies that the tangible realm, the domain of wealth, rank, and material dominions, is mostly the domain of a misleading entity. He instructs them, Do not construct temples of stone, for the stone will crumble. Construct the temple of the heart, for it is eternal. This could appear as a pleasant figure of speech, but within the Ethiopian writing, it's a direct order. He is cautioning them against structured faith. He foresees that individuals will don extended garments and employ his name to amass riches. He particularly alerts against a forthcoming Rome that will transform his cross into a blade. The exactness is what alarms academics. It's nearly like he's gazing 2,000 years ahead and witnessing the Crusades, the Inquisitions, and the megachurches. He informs the disciples that the authentic believer must remain an outsider to human frameworks. But here's the twist. He presents a twofold perspective of the human soul that's nearly physiological. He states, every human has two winds flowing through them, the wind of life and the wind of error. The wind of error isn't merely negative ideas, it is portrayed like a parasite. It infiltrates via avarice, through the eyes when they gaze at what they shouldn't, and through the mouth when it utters falsehoods. Once this wind enters, it hardens the heart. It converts a vital human into what he terms a walking tomb. Ponder that briefly, a walking tomb. An individual who inhales, consumes, and shares on social media, but spiritually they are already departed. It's a zombie apocalypse, but for the soul. And here's the astonishing element. He provides them the remedy. It isn't a donation or a ceremony, it is gnosis, knowledge. He instructs them to observe their thoughts like a sentinel guards an entrance. He instructs them that the kingdom of heaven is literally within their own body, concealed in the quiet amid thoughts. This is why the Roman Empire had to quash this writing. Rome required compliant subjects who dreaded the ruler and the pontiff. They didn't require self-conscious mystics who thought the church was superfluous. Because if you think God resides inside you, you don't contribute taxes to the temple, you don't kneel to the bishop, you become unmanageable. The Book of the Covenant also includes odd universal specifics. He mentions the repositories of snow and the portals of the winds. For a while, folks considered this artistic drivel. But contemporary weather science verifies that climate patterns shift in worldwide streams, actual channels of wind. How did a document from 2,000 years past understand the planet's atmospheric mechanics? He also mentions a chasm of water under the Earth. Once more, recent science uncovered a vast ocean of water encased in ringwoodite stone far inside the Earth's mantle. More water than in all the surface seas together. The Ethiopian Bible was accurate. There is a chasm of water below us. These astonishing elements lend a degree of reliability that's tough to dismiss. If the writing was correct about the water and the winds, could it also be correct about the spiritual parasite? The mood of these 40 days is insistent. This isn't the turn-the-other-cheek atmosphere of the Sermon on the Mount. This is the demeanor of a commander delivering a concluding update before departing the combat zone. He informs them, "The darkness will arrive and it will wear my face." That is the most frightening sentence in the book. It will wear my face. He is anticipating that the supreme evil will not resemble a beast. It will resemble Christianity. It will resemble a redeemer. It will mislead the world by seeming precisely like the entity it aims to obliterate. This aligns flawlessly with Antichrist notions, but it renders them much more nuanced and hazardous. It implies the deceit is already present, embedded in the establishments we rely on. But he didn't merely depart them with cautions, he departed them with a tool, a confidential method known solely to the core group involving the regulation of breath and the concentration of the mind. Akin to sophisticated meditation methods discovered in the East, this links to the Isa hypothesis, the notion that Jesus passed his missing years in India or Tibet. The instructions in the Ethiopian Bible are remarkably Eastern. Karma, reincarnation, inner energy hubs, it's all present masked in archaic terms. So we possess a covert book, a caution regarding a phony church, and guidance on how to activate internal strength. But if Jesus departed, where did the tangible evidence of his strength go? The response rests in a modest stone sanctuary that nobody is permitted to access. Why Hitler, empires, and covert societies never obtained it? You can't discuss Ethiopia without addressing the Ark of the Covenant. Films claim it was misplaced in Egypt. Ethiopians declare that's absurdity. Almost every Ethiopian trusts the Ark remains there, secured within the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in the historic city of Aksum. And this isn't myth, it's the foundation of their whole society. The account starts with the Queen of Sheba. She journeys to Jerusalem, encounters King Solomon, and returns bearing his son, Menelik I. Years afterward, Menelik visits his father. Solomon proposes the throne to him. Menelik declines, but he doesn't depart without something. As per Ethiopia's royal chronicle, the Kebra Nagast, Menelik and his associates execute history's most daring substitution, swapping the ark with a duplicate and covertly transporting the genuine one to Ethiopia. And the ark isn't merely a golden container. Biblical portrayals depict it as an armament, incinerating troops, discharging flames, slaying anyone who approached too near. The impacts sound strangely contemporary, like radioactivity. Here's where it becomes disturbing. The ark's protector today, only one individual at a time, is barred from exiting the sanctuary for life. Guests report these protectors acquire cataracts, forfeit their vision, their complexion fades, and they frequently perish early. Why would a wooden container cause that? Unless it isn't solely wood. Some think the ark is antique high-energy apparatus. Others claim it's an interaction tool, something much older than faith itself. Whatever it is, Ethiopia has protected it for 3,000 years and defended it. Ethiopia is the sole African country never colonized. When Italy assaulted in 1896 with advanced armaments, Ethiopian troops somehow demolished them at the Battle of Adwa. Residents claim St. George fought alongside them. Others murmur something more ominous, that the ark was positioned close to the combat area, emitting a dazzling glow that reversed the outcome. Even covert societies were aware. The Knights Templar journeyed to Ethiopia in the 12th century, pursuing the ark. Their emblems are still etched into the rock churches of Lalibela. They recognized the Grail wasn't a vessel, it was a lineage. And the ark was evidence. Ethiopia's rulers governed via the Solomonic dynasty for almost 3,000 years, asserting direct ancestry from Solomon and from the line of David. Meaning, while Europe venerated Jesus as a remote deity, Ethiopia was governed by his kin. If the ark is authentic, and if it's an axiom, then biblical legitimacy doesn't direct to Rome. It directs to a serene town in Africa. And the enigma delves further. South of Axum, complete churches were sculpted directly downward into firm rock, not constructed. Dug out? Residents claim humans labored by day and angels completed the task at night. The laser-cut churches of the 1200s. Welcome to Lalibela. This is the spot that causes archaeologists to puzzle and then surrender. In the 12th century, King Lalibela commanded the creation of 11 churches, but he didn't employ builders to pile stones. He commanded them sculpted straight from solid volcanic rock. We're not discussing caverns, we're discussing enormous detailed cathedrals equipped with windows, doors, pillars, and drainage setups carved from one solid piece of stone. It's a reverse sculpture. You must envision the whole structure in 3 dimensions. Then eliminate all that isn't the church. One error, one fractured column, and the entire endeavor is spoiled. You can't adhere rock back, and here's the wild aspect. They claim it was accomplished in merely 24 years. Contemporary engineers have calculated the figures. To sculpt these 11 churches using manual implements, chisels, and hammers would require 40,000 men over a century, and the waste removal by itself would demand fleets of vehicles. Yet, there is no trace of the waste. Millions of tons of rock just disappeared. Claim the angels operated twice as swiftly as human laborers. The monks claim that human laborers worked during the day, but at night, angels descended and proceeded with the labor. They claim the angels operated twice as swiftly as the men and utilized implements of light that cut through volcanic rock like butter. Implements of light. Does that resemble a chisel to you, or does it resemble directed energy apparatus? Some speculators propose that the Ark of the Covenant was transported to Lalibela during this period and employed as an energy source, or even as an instrument to mellow the stone. There are antique reports in other societies of stone being mellowed using sonic vibrations or chemical mixtures. Could the Ethiopians have held a forgotten apparatus? The Church of St. George is the most renowned of them all. It is formed like a flawless cross excavated deep into the soil. The roof is at ground level. You gaze down into it. The accuracy is nearly laser precise. The drainage setup is so sophisticated that even after 800 years of heavy downpours, the church has never overflowed. And then there are the passages. Under the complex is a maze of utter black passages intended to represent the plunge into hell. Aspirants for the priesthood must traverse these passages in complete obscurity, navigating by touch along the walls for hours while reciting. It is a sensory isolation space constructed wholly of stone. This ties straight back to the Book of the Covenant and its lessons about the gloom of the tomb. The design strengthens the doctrine. You must traverse the gloom to discover the light. But lately, 3D laser examinations of the location disclosed something additional. Irregularities below the floor, empty areas that haven't been accessed in 800 years. What's beneath? The priests claim it is the repository of the saints, gold documents, or maybe the exact implements used to construct the site. The world is fixated on the pyramids of Egypt, but Lalibela is arguably more intricate. The pyramids are piled blocks. Lalibela is removal. It demands a degree of preparation so exact it indicates a computer-like intellect. What most folks don't grasp is that King Lalibela spent time in Jerusalem before it succumbed to Muslim control. He desired to establish a new Jerusalem in Africa, secure from the perpetual conflicts of the Middle East. He even labeled the river running through the town the River Jordan. He wasn't merely constructing churches, he was constructing a stronghold, a metaphysical bastion crafted to safeguard the faith when the remainder of the world was ablaze. And it succeeded. While European cathedrals were demolished during the World Wars, Lalibela stayed intact. But the stone conceals one more mystery. The icons etched into the walls include the Star of David, the cross, and the swastika, an antique emblem of the sun long prior to its corruption by the Nazis. It displays a merger of beliefs, a link to the East, and a holy geometry synchronized with the stars. The Ethiopians didn't merely safeguard books, they safeguarded wisdom. Wisdom of how to alter matter itself. But the supreme mystery isn't about stones or containers, it's about blood. The concealed lineage nobody discusses. In the West, Jesus is solitary. No spouse, no offspring, no family continuation. The narrative concludes at the cross. But in the East, and particularly in Ethiopia, that concept doesn't align. Family is paramount. Ethiopia's Solomonic dynasty didn't govern for a century or two. It governed for nearly 3,000 years. From around 900 BC until 1974, one regal line occupied the throne. The final emperor, Haile Selassie, was the 225th sovereign in that sequence known as the Conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. That designation isn't emblematic. It's a lawful assertion to King David's lineage. Trace that ancestry, and it doesn't merely connect Ethiopia to the Old Testament. It generates an uneasy intersection with the New. If Mary was part of the house of David and Ethiopia's kings asserted the same house, then they weren't outsiders, they were relatives. That's why Rastafarians viewed Haile Selassie as the returned Messiah. Revelation mentions the Lion of Judah, and they thought they were beholding him. Selassie never proclaimed himself divine, but he comprehended the significance of heritage. Lineages are important, and now science has intervened. Genetic analyses of Ethiopians disclose ancient DNA from the Levant, modern Israel and Syria dating back about 3,000 years. A genuine relocation, genuine individuals, genuine relocation from Jerusalem into Ethiopia. The tales weren't tales. This clarifies why Ethiopian Christianity seems so distinct. They maintained Jewish regulations, food guidelines, circumcision on the 8th day, the Saturday Sabbath. Their belief is a fluid combination of old and new. What Christianity might have resembled before Rome reconfigured it. They didn't require transformation. They were already participants, which leads to the most debated notion of all. Uplands spoken customs still refer to uplands spoken customs still refer to an enigmatic instructor from the north, a healer, a man of tranquility. They don't name him Jesus, they name him the righteous teacher. Is it feasible the West has been excavating in the incorrect territory all this time? Perhaps the actual heritage of Jesus isn't interred in Galilee, but enduring in Africa? As Ethiopian monks express, the West has the water, we have the well, the watchers are returning, and the timing isn't haphazard. So pose this to yourself. Why now? Why are these writings emerging after 2,000 years of quiet? For centuries, they remained concealed in mountain monasteries enveloped in goat hide, protected by men who would perish before permitting outsiders to handle them. They endured pests, conflicts, and dominions. Complete seclusion. Then abruptly, everything erupts. In just the recent few years, these books surge online. Unsanctioned conversions propagate quicker than experts can halt them. The YouTube system promotes them to millions, and you're encountering the Book of the Covenant amid a meme and a news segment. That's not coincidental. Per the most extreme interpretations, these writings include an integrated crisis activator for humanity, an ultimate safeguard, one that solely engages at a very particular juncture in history. They depict the end times as an era of networks of deception. In the original tongue, it signifies a world that is hyperlinked but counterfeit, where individuals communicate without mouths and perceive without eyes. Tell me that doesn't resemble the internet or artificial intelligence. The concept is alarming. Ethiopian monks weren't merely protecting scripture. They were protecting the emergency manual for the digital era. The foretelling states when humanity is adrift within false realms, the concealed truth must be unleashed to demolish the deception. And observe around. Nobody trusts administrations. Nobody trusts the press. And confidence in structured religion is crumbling. People aren't famished for sustenance. They're famished for purpose. They don't desire clerics or networks. They desire immediate wisdom. That's why these writings strike like fuel on a blaze. They affirm a sensation millions have harbored since youth. That something was absent. That the narrative was altered. That Sunday school instructed the secure edition. Here's the debated notion. The Council of Nicaea didn't merely excise books to streamline the Bible. They excised them to neutralize us. The Ethiopian writings portray humans not as feeble adherents, but as potent entities ensnared in a universal conflict. They speak candidly about the Watchers, fallen beings who modified humanity, and about antique technologies we're only now rediscovering. By erasing those books, the West obliterated our defense. But Ethiopia never conformed. They retained the complete edition, while the remainder of the world received the inferior version. And here's where it becomes disturbing. These documents don't interpret like verse solely. Some portions resemble misplaced physics. Investigators highlight illusions that mimic acoustic levitation using sound to control matter. Examine Lalibela. Those churches weren't constructed. They were sculpted straight down into solid rock. Tales claim angels assisted at night. But what if angels was merely antique terminology for an overlooked technology? Sound vibrations that mellowed stone. If that's accurate, the Book of the Covenant isn't merely metaphysical, it's mechanical. It could clarify the pyramids, the manna device, even the Ark of the Covenant, which Ethiopia asserts is authentic and heavily protected in Axum. And if present conversions disclose how these mechanisms functioned, then this isn't a religious resurgence. It's the resurgence of pre-flood science. So here's the inquiry that should trouble you. If rulers altered history to dominate the past, what else are they still concealing? Are you prepared to study the prohibited sections, or is the truth too perilous? Press, like if you desire more concealed history, and subscribe to participate in the quest for what was never intended to be found.